Statement of Howard Ewing regarding his interview with an unidentified member of British Transport Police. Original statement given February 1st, 2010. Audio recording by Jonathan Sims, Head Archivist of the Magnus Institute, London. Statement begins. The room is hot. It's small and there are no windows and the table is cheap metal. It shouldn't be so hot in January, but I think maybe they've just got the heating turned up too high. When I rest my arm on the table too long, I can see the patches of sweat on the smooth surface as I lift them up again. I've asked for water so many times and he always says it's coming, but it hasn't come yet. He just sits there. He's wearing the uniform of the British Transport Police, 3 pips on his shoulder, but he won't show me his badge. He won't show me any ID. Why are they doing this? I didn't do anything. The officers that brought me here were friendly, kind. It was only after they left and it got so hot, and he started sitting across from me. He's smiling, asking me questions again and again. What were you doing earlier tonight? My job. I was doing my job, cleaning Moorgate Station, me and Kelly and Vihan. We're the night cleaners, and that's what we were doing. We'd done the ticket office and the corridors and the entrances, and we were getting started on the platforms. Why is that so hard for him to understand? He laughs, and I wince as sweat drops into my eye. When did you first notice something was wrong? We had just started work on the platform itself when we heard the tannoy come on. I don't know how. As far as I knew, it wasn't even powered, but there was that slight crackle, and then, "This is a security announcement." We all waited, confused, but what came out next sounded muffled, like it was coming up through 5 feet of water. I couldn't make out any of the words, and from the looks on their faces, neither could my colleagues. We strained to listen, but after a few seconds it was silent again. We all looked at each other, and Vihan started to shrug when there came an incredible shrieking noise from the speakers. It felt like needles through my eardrums, and it was all I could do to stay upright. I saw Kelly fall to the floor, clutching her head. Then it stopped, completely, and we all looked at each other again, catching our breath, trying to figure out who to report this to and how. How did you become aware of the train? The first thing I noticed was the smell. Even before the noise or the heat, there was a sticky, greasy smell in the air, like burning chemicals and spoiled bacon. I tried to figure out where it was coming from, and I realized it got stronger the closer to the tunnel mouth I moved. By the time I reached the end of the platform, I was almost gagging. The others looked like they had mostly recovered from the screeching tannoy and were noticing my odd movements and came over to investigate themselves. I saw Vihan pull a face as he approached, and I pointed weakly to the opening of the tunnel. I carefully climbed down onto the tracks and looked out into the dark that led to Old Street. That's when I saw it. What did the carriage look like? It was hard to tell through the flames. They were all over it, curling and writhing and crawling through the crevices in the wreckage. It wasn't intact, though. Parts of it were clearly crumpled and broken, and I saw shards of steel and glass embedded in the wall that was lit by the dim red flames. What did it look like? There were people still inside. I could see them. Arms and heads reaching out of broken windows and split metal, blackened and rendered almost unrecognizable by the fire and the heat. But they still moved, and twitched and cried out in pain and terror, scratching at the edge of their burning metal tomb. But everything was choked and surrounded by a thick, acrid black smoke that stung my eyes and lungs, so nothing seemed the same from one moment to the next. What did it look like? It looked like hell. What did you hear? Everything. The tunnel echoed and funneled the sounds until I could hear every agonized cry, every pop and crackle of the fire, the groaning of metal that matched the groaning of the wounded and the dying. It all hit me at once, like the tunnel was pushing the tidal wave of sound out just for me. The shape was perfect for a terrible screaming oven. From behind me I heard the shouts of Kelly and Vihan, though I don't know if it was because they saw it too, or because they saw me fall to my knees in horror. I could hear the tannoy again, now clearly speaking. "Will Inspector Sands please report? Will Inspector Sands please report?" Over and over again. He smiles, and the tiny room gets hotter. "Who is Inspector Sands?" It's a code, one of the codes we use to alert staff to situations of disaster or fire. It usually means there's a fire. It's to keep people calm. It's meant to not cause any panic, keep them safe even if there's an emergency. He laughs, and I wish I could go home. How many people were on the train? I don't know. What sort of train carriage was it? I don't know. Where did it come from? I don't know. Did you scream? Yes. At least I think so. The back of my throat was dry and hot and painful, so my mouth must have been open. I think I was screaming. What were your colleagues doing? Vihan was gripping me by the shoulders, shaking me, yelling at me to wake up. But I was awake. I was wide awake, and I think in some ways he was talking to himself. Kelly was walking past me, trying to battle through the choking, rancid smoke. I hope she was planning to try and rescue those trapped in the wreckage, but maybe she was simply trying to join them. I couldn't do anything to help either of them, and I knew that if I touched them, I would burn them. He inhales, as if in triumph. And where are they now? They're dead. At least that's what I was told when the officers brought me here. They found no wreckage, nothing in the tunnels, no corpses wailing through an underground inferno, just the dead and burnt bodies of Kelly Dwyer and Vihan Prasad. What do you love most in the world? The question sends a shock through my whole body. I know this is what he wants, all he truly cares about. I want to lie, to say that I love nothing and nobody, that I am alone in the world and he'll have to look elsewhere. My tongue burns in my mouth as I try to keep it still. What do you love most in the world? My father. I love my father more than anything. Who am I? I don't answer, and he lets me leave. My father is dead a week later. A heart attack. At the age of 63, everyone is surprised and saddened, but not shocked. I try to tell myself it's a coincidence, that a heart attack is the most natural death in the world. But at the funeral, despite arranging it myself, despite selecting the burial plot and the headstone, I watch as they take my father off for cremation, and nobody can tell me why. They simply say how sorry they are for my loss, and hand me my father's ashes. I don't want his ashes. I know he'll be back, the policeman with 3 bright pips on his shoulder, and he'll ask me what else I love. And I'll tell him. Then he'll ask me who he is, and I won't say. I don't want to cause any panic. Statement ends. I'm going to bed.